You've been in this business for quite some time, going after these scammers. Do real psychics actually exist?
I don't believe in psychic ability. I don't think anyone's ever proven it. So no, personally, I don't believe in it. But that's not what these cases are about, actually. They're about theft. You're not going into court proving whether someone is psychic or not. What you're doing is going into court. You're building a case about how one person lied to another person and the provable lies they used to obtain the money from the vulnerable person.
Yeah, very often they seem to be charlatans preying on the vulnerable. How much is it, all about snake oil salesmen?
People are going through a difficult time in their life in regard to love, money, health. A lot of times they're very intelligent, but the self-proclaimed psychic will tell the person, oh, money's the root of all evil. You have a curse on you. And what we need to do is draw the evil away from you using the money, because the money will draw the evil away from you. And then I'll take the money to my church, to the altar, and I'll take it and I'll cleanse it, and then I'll give it back to you. So when the psychic takes the money, the person isn't paying for a curse to be removed. They're giving the psychic the money to use temporarily, thinking they're just going to cleanse the money and return it, and then they never return it as promised. Herein lies the theft. Also, you have cases where the psychic says, oh, your next door neighbor put a curse on you. Well, if I go interview the next door neighbor and the neighbor says, I never did that, Bob, I never cast a spell or put a curse on her or him, well, then the psychic was lying. So you're looking for the provable lies. You're looking for the interaction that occurred between the psychic and the victim and what was said. And then you look at the minutia of that and you build a case, a criminal case for theft.
How difficult is it to build that case? Is it very challenging in terms of the prosecution side?
If you just look at it as simple theft, it's not that challenging. What you do is you gather the text messages, you gather the phone records, you gather the bank account records, the PayPal, the money transfers. It's just like any other financial fraud investigation. You got to step away from thinking it as, oh, psychic, oh, how are we ever going to prove if this person is psychic or not? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That's not what this is about. This is about, all the police need to do is just handle it as a regular theft case and stop thinking about it as a psychic case and getting scared of it. Police often call it a civil matter. Oh, it's a civil matter. It's not a civil matter. Many times it's a criminal matter.
Yeah, a lot of the times the blame seems to be on the victims rather than the person that's trying to sell this particular service, I suppose. What do you think needs to change in the legal system?
The police need to be educated and the prosecutors need to be educated. I mean, I've had police say to a victim, well, nobody put a gun to your head. You voluntarily gave the money. Here's the problem. It's not a case, if it was a gun to someone's head, it would be a robbery. It's not a robbery. It's a theft by deception. People can steal money with their tongue by having a silver tongue. They don't need a gun. And police need to understand that people can be deceived into handing over their money. And that's also a crime. It might be a nonviolent crime, but it's also a crime. So that's what has to change, is the attitude. I've had police say to victims, oh, yeah, nobody put a gun to your head. And I just shake my head because they just don't get it when they say that.
No, but also, Bob, there is a cultural element to it. There are traditions, there are certain races, cultures that actually believe in psychic power. What would you then say to communities or people who do believe in the psychic, field, I suppose, because it is part of their culture? What would you say to them in terms of, I suppose, trying to keep their money in their bank?
Well, if somebody gives money to a psychic, they're superstitious, and they give money because they feel that there's a curse, and they just give $30,000 to remove that curse, there's no crime right there in of that, just that transaction. It's where the lies come up that you have to watch out. It's when the psychic says, I'm going to take the money and give it back to you. That's a lie. Or, you know what? I have to fly to China and I have to go there and do a ritual at your grandfather's grave. And meanwhile, you have a private investigator that's doing surveillance on the person. They're texting, I'm at the grave right now in China. And meanwhile, the private investigators, they're in Sydney. They're not in China when they're texting the person. So, these are the things you have to do. People can believe in psychics, that's up to them, but the theft is what you're really looking at here.
All right.
That's what I need to impress upon people, is it's just simple theft.